New York is a collection of villages. The old have been in charge since before the Revolution, until the new people invaded.
I'm Kate Hahn with TV Insider, and Carriecoon and Morgan Spector, thank you so much for joining us to speak about your characters in The Gilded Age. Bertha and George Russell, I am a little intimidated right now because they are a power couple. Carrie, tell us a little bit about Bertha. She's just mesmerizing, isn't she? And
thank you. I love her.
She wants it all. Tell us about her.
She does. She does want it all. And so Bertha Russell is the wife of George Russell, who's a newly moneyed railroad industrialist. They have a lot of money, and they build a new mansion on Fifth Avenue with the intention of breaking into Mrs. Astor's families, 400 families. They want to be invited into the social circle. It's proving to be quite challenging, however. But Bertha is not daunted by this task. She's going to get in there however she can. Because of course her responsibility as a woman in this class and this time is to contribute to charity and to make good marriages for her children. And that's her career. She can't be a senator or an entrepreneur. This is where she has to put her energy, and boy does she.
Yeah, she has a lot of energy. Morgan, one thing I love about this couple is they seem to have a very modern relationship, a very modern marriage. He really respects her. Tell us about that relationship and sort of the difference between your character at home and then when he's out in his ruthless work world.
Yeah, I think as we were talking about a little bit before, and we've talked about before, I think, they had the luxury because they both came from outside this highly routinized and convention bound New York society. I think they had the privilege of really finding partners for themselves in this, which was unusual for the era and certainly unusual for the social class in which they find themselves at the beginning of the show. And I think they both found someone that whose ambition they could admire and help nurture, and who understood life in the same way as this sort of quest for, a quest for more, a quest for a richer, more exciting, more demanding experience. And so I think they have like a genuine love for each other that is founded in a real respect.
Tassafarmiga, you play Gladys Russell, and this poor girl, she just wants to get out of the house and talk to boys. But, she can't do it because her mother is so overbearing. Tell us about the situation she finds herself in.
Sure. Gladys is a teenager on the brinkhood of adulthood. All she wants is her independence, a chance to experience the world and form her own opinions. But she's definitely overshadowed by her mother, who has a tight grip on her and has her own plan for how Gladys's life should go, as a lot of parents, whether they're from, the 1880s or even now, have for their children. And Gladys is just trying to find a way to forge her own path. She knows her mother has her best interest at heart, but at the end of the day, she really wants to figure it out for herself.
Well, and someone has their eye on her, Blake. That's your character, Oscar von Rhine. Tell us about him and why he's interested in her.
Well, in the first instance, opposite his mother's house, a 150-bedroom chateau has suddenly turned up across the street. So that's a certain food for thought for someone like Oscar, who's very driven by money. Oscar is, he's part of the New York aristocracy. He is independently very wealthy in his own right, but he's got his eye on a bigger prize. He can see that the sums of money that the industrialists are accruing is just of a whole different magnitude. So he's of an age where he is hunting for an heiress, and clearly there is something very exciting about the biggest sum of money in New York at that time. Having said that, I think Oscar values his own happiness very, very heavily, and I think he likes her. I think he does genuinely like Gladys. I think he thinks they could be happy together.
Would you like to talk a little bit about Oscar's life that he doesn't, let anyone know about? He has some secrets.
He has a few secrets. This was a time when this, having affairs on the side of marriages, again, today it seems a rather kind of reprehensible way to conduct oneself. But at the time, I think it was just far more common. And in a way, having polyamorous relationships was just a part of that. I don't think he finds any particular stigma attached to having a relationship with a man any more than he would with a woman. I think it's just, that's what you do. You can't necessarily rely on a marriage for everything, and so you have to kind of find it elsewhere.
Louisa Jacobson, your character's story gets this whole thing spinning. So tell us about her and what happens in her life that starts off this journey.
Sure. So we meet Marian in a very vulnerable moment. She's newly orphaned. Her father's just died, and her life has been completely uprooted because the support she had depended on to sustain her are gone. Not only is her father gone, but he was irresponsible with money, so he left very little to her. And the house that she thought she would inherit to build her own life, she finds out was rented her entire life. So that's a big thing to discover. And her only option is to move in with her wealthy aunts who are part of New York society. The only thing she's heard growing up about them are bad things from her father. Her father hated them. And so she has this fire in her that is sort of like a desperate yearning for something more than might be expected of her. I think she has the seeds for rebellion and the seeds for being progressive, but those aren't really planted until she meets other people who, like Peggy, who are ambitious and are following their passions and things like that.
And you mentioned Peggy Scott, who's played by Deneebenton, who is already on a path. She's an aspiring writer. And they form an unlikely friendship. Danae, can you talk about your character and the relationship that she and Marian form, the friendship, really?
Yeah, Peggy, as we said, is like this incredible arbiter of her own freedom as a Black woman at this time. And she's born into this kind of level of access that her parents have worked for, and she doesn't want to do what her parents have dreamed for her. And so she has this decision to make between herself and between staying at home. And she runs into Marian when she's also sort of setting out on her own path, and we don't quite know what Peggy's going through. There's mystery involved that gets revealed over the course of the season. But I think what Peggy and Marian see in each other is a similar type of vulnerability of we, either by the choices of others or the choice of ourselves, are exposed to a world in which we don't have the protections that our young women at our age are supposed to have. And we also have the audacity to have dreams for ourselves.
The Gilded Age premieres Monday, January 24th on HBO. For more insider videos, hit subscribe.